Emily, move it and come back home to grab my swimsuit, the blue one. I need it for the water." That familiar, bossy voice yanked me awake. I looked over at my sister Sarah, still totally frazzled. She was pulling at her hair, super annoyed. Her messy suitcase was sprawled open at her feet, but she just couldn't find the blue swimsuit she specifically bought for the beach. Mom and Dad were stumped, too. They tried to chill Sarah out and pushed me to go get it. Otherwise, she might start bawling. I glanced out at the calm, blue ocean, feeling a shiver run down my spine. My skin was aching, and it felt like some giant hand was squeezing my lungs. Downstairs, a girl was perched on her dad's shoulders, yelling about how awesome the ocean was. Too familiar. It hit me like déjà vu. I was back to that day when my family went to the beach for vacation, just 4 hours before a massive tsunami was set to hit. We'd only been in the vacation spot for like 10 minutes when Sarah started whining about needing her swimsuit. I get car sick, threw up twice getting here. Now, I'm stuck taking a taxi alone for a 2-hour round trip. Total nightmare. Last time I didn't want to go. I told them I was car sick and that Sarah could just buy a new one from some street vendor. They're everywhere, right? My swimsuit was just a cheap street buy, like $20. But my parents went off on me for that. Can you wear some street junk? What if Sarah has an allergic reaction? You're the big sister. Can't you just do this one little thing for her? It's not all about swimming. Grow up a bit. They roasted me, comparing me to Sarah. Sarah was all cute and bubbly, and I was just plain boring and shut down. She talked nonstop, and I kept my mouth shut, lips pressed together. Look at you, always acting dead. No wonder you ended up in some crappy junior college. Your sister's gonna get into a top uni with her grades. What about you? That junior college ain't worth much. Running errands is the best you can do, and you're not even trying. Dad hated it when I kept quiet, so his words got harsher. He forgot, or maybe didn't care, why I ended up in junior college. Probably because he got drunk and landed in the hospital right before my entrance exams. Mom and Sarah said they were too tired to help him, leaving me to take care of him. I was wiped out, bombed the exams, and only got into junior college with no chance to retake them. They wanted me to hustle and start working ASAP. None of them forgot that, but they always thought it was justified. As long as Sarah got into a good school, it was all good. As long as Sarah was happy, like wanting this beach trip after her exams. So here we are. Even I got dragged along. First time in 19 years my family took me out for fun. But I was lugging most of the bags and now had to make a 2-hour trip back just for a swimsuit. Emily, are you deaf? I told you to grab my swimsuit. Sarah snapped me out of my spiral. Her voice was sharp. I backed away from the window. The peaceful sea now felt like a beast with claws. In just 4 hours, a terrifying tsunami was gonna rise from the depths and wreck everything. Emily, it's your fault for not reminding her. You better go now, Mom scolded, glaring at me. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the tsunami fears. Looked at Mom and thought, why should I remind Sarah? I didn't know she'd forget. And why should I? Last time I argued, Dad lost it and slapped me flat. If you say go, just go. Why all the whining? Don't you see your sister's upset? He yelled, ignoring the blood on my lip. That slap broke me. For 19 years, I didn't get what I did wrong. Why were they treating me like this? So I lost it and cried hysterically, almost passing out. Sarah got fed up and stormed off to play. She told me once I stopped crying to go get the swimsuit. It's a 3-day beach trip, so if not today, then tomorrow for sure. My parents were pissed, kicked me a few times, then locked me in my room. Crying won't help. Think it over? Come out when you're ready to fetch it? They sneered and left like I was just another piece of luggage. Thrust into the room, I was shattered, curled up, hugging my knees, sobbing silently until evening, when the calm sea suddenly went wild. The tide turned violent, boiling over everything. By the time I noticed, a monstrous wave was heading to shore. Panic set in. I screamed, twisting the knob to escape, but it wouldn't budge. I dashed to the window, yelling for help. I saw my parents and Sarah driving away in a rush, giving me one last look before getting in the car. Just 3 stories apart, they saw me, but drove off without a second glance. I died under the catastrophic tsunami. Emily, are you mute? Sarah barked for the 3rd time, her face red with rage. I hadn't answered once. Dad got up, ready to hit me. Just like last time, I'd be locked in the apartment waiting for my end. Quick on my feet, I sidestepped, forced a smile. Sarah, chill out. This trip's all about you. I'll do whatever you say. I glanced at Dad. Hey, Dad, why not bring some Mau Tai for dinner? You could enjoy it with the seafood. His hand paused midair, some anger fading from his face. That's more like it. Hurry up now, the drive's 4 hours. You'll be back before dark and still have fun. He pulled back his hand and turned to Sarah. Don't worry, Sarah. Dad will take you on a sea scooter soon, and I want to ride a helicopter to take some pics. Sarah made her request. I knew about the helicopter rides over the ocean. $10 for 10 minutes. If I asked for that, Dad would have kicked me. But he immediately agreed to Sarah's request. Mom gave a thumbs up, saying, Sarah is so brave going on a helicopter ride. Sarah looked smug and shot me a quick glance, flaunting all the attention she got. Meanwhile, all I'd gotten growing up were scoldings and beatings. My heart twisted for a second, then I felt ice cold. After dying once, who cares about little affections? Mom, Dad, and Sis, y'all stay here by the sea and have fun. I'm going back to get my swimsuit. I left quietly. My parents and sister seemed cool, waiting for me to return in 4 hours. What they didn't know was that 4 hours later, the tide would suddenly recede ominously, then come back with monstrous force. Maybe an ocean quake or an underwater volcano erupting. Whatever it was, an unprecedented tsunami was about to wipe out the whole resort. I remember clearly the waves were higher than our apartment hotel, at least 100 meters. A 100-meter tsunami is super rare in history. The 2004 Indonesian tsunami hit 14 countries, killed over 270,000, and was only 51 meters high. Sure, topography and altitude play a big role, and maybe it wouldn't be as bad elsewhere, but this incoming tsunami was a full 100 meters high. Even though our city, City A, is up high with lots of mountains and dense forests, a 100-meter tsunami, I couldn't even think about it without hellish images flooding my mind. I started to freak out. How am I supposed to survive the next 4 hours? I've seen tsunamis before. Those 100-meter waves are terrifying. So, I needed to prep for the worst, expecting the whole city and nearby coastal areas to get wrecked. In theory, if I could hop on a plane and fly 1,000 miles away, I'd be safe. But that's obviously not happening now. It's tough even trying to escape City A. 'Cause today's the second day after college entrance exams, and traffic's a nightmare. We were stuck in traffic even coming here. In this situation, getting home within 2 hours would be a miracle. So, I couldn't just think about bailing. I needed to figure out how to take shelter nearby. High-rise buildings might seem decent, but I tossed that idea aside. In an apocalypse-level tsunami, all buildings would eventually fall apart. No matter how tall, they'd crumble. So, the refuge had to be sturdy and elevated. A mountain. In the eastern suburbs of City A, there's a scenic spot with a peak of 1,400 meters, good infrastructure, and a Taoist temple that could serve as a haven. I used to volunteer there, so I knew the area. Plus, it's just a 40-minute drive away, and I can take the highway. It's 2 p.m. now, and when I get to Fisher Girl Peak, I can stock up on supplies and head up the mountain. That's the plan. With it in mind, I hit the ground floor. As I was about to hail a cab, I saw a worker passing by with a big bag of tools. The tool bag was packed with nails. I stopped him, bought a pack of nails for $10, and dumped them under all 4 tires of our family car in the parking lot, sharp ends up. Once the car moves, the tires are definitely going to get punctured. By then, the family would be freaking out while the car's tires deflate super fast. It'd be quite a sight. Dusting off my hands, I rushed on my way. I had to head to Fisher Girl Peak, stock up, and climb the mountain. The cab I got sped along the highway. I thought the highway would be clear, but it was still jammed, taking us an hour and a half for a usually 40-minute trip. Worry was eating me up, and I kept praying for it to move fast. Off the highway, Fisher Girl Peak was just a 5-minute drive. I breathed a sigh of relief and checked the time. 3:35 p.m. I remembered the tsunami was set to hit around 6 p.m. I still had 2.5 hours to prep. I didn't need much, just enough to last a week. Tsunamis come and go fast. Once I survive the first hit, I can wait for government help. It was a reluctant choice, really. If I had the chance, who wouldn't want to stock up just in case? but alone with limited time, carrying a week's worth of supplies was already pushing it. While thinking, as the cab passed through a residential area, I got off and headed straight to a local supermarket. I grabbed a big bag of canned foods, jerky, and energy bars, small but filling. Then I snagged some ready-to-eat meals, spiced fish, preserved meat, and dried fruits. They were bulky, so I just took a decent amount, one big bag's worth. Finally, I swung by a nearby pharmacy for some basic meds. Now, with a pack on my back and 2 bags in hand, my waist was feeling the strain. But these supplies would last me a long while. With rationing, definitely more than a week. Water was key. I only grabbed 3 bottles. 1 'cause it's heavy, and 2 since there's a natural waterfall on Fisher Girl Peak, so water wouldn't be an issue. After checking everything, I called another cab straight to Fisher Girl Peak. It's 4:36 p.m. now, with 1 hour and 24 minutes until the tsunami hits. That's when Sarah called me. I answered, and she immediately started ordering, "Did you get home yet? Remember to bring my sun hat, the white one." "If you're already out, go back and get it. Gotta bring the sun hat." Hearing Sarah's bossy tone on the phone made me want to laugh, like gasping in disbelief. She'd treated me like a servant for over 10 years. I was used to it, always accommodating her, fearing she'd get mad and I'd catch hell. If I hadn't died once, I'd still be scared. But Sarah can't scare me anymore. Of course, I didn't want to argue back, 'cause there's over an hour before the tsunami hits. If I mess with Sarah now, with her fiery temper, she might kill the vibe and rush home to deal with me. That way, their chances of escaping would be way higher. "Okay, Sarah, I'll go back and grab your hat now, but it might take me a bit longer to get back to the beach. I'm being really obedient." Sarah couldn't help but chuckle. "I love seeing you being so humble." "Keep it up," my mom chimed in. "Emily, since you're going back already, why not bring my makeup too?" I wanted to grab it, but it was too much hassle. I sneered inwardly but agreed out loud. "Okay, Mom, just wait for me." That's right, be sensible and everyone will be happy. My dad rarely praised me and decided to chip in too. I still sneered. After coughing up, the cab reached the Fisher Girl Peak scenic area. I didn't get off at the main entrance, but at the west gate. There's an employee path here, used it when I volunteered before. I looked up at the towering Fisher Girl Peak and felt an overwhelming sense of safety. No place could be safer than this. I took a deep breath and headed straight up the mountain with my supplies. The guy in the guard booth was nodding off, not noticing anyone climbing, probably because it's been so hot lately. It was at least 86 degrees right now. Only a fool would climb a mountain midday. So, on my hike up, I didn't see any tourists. I'm sure there were some, but they must be at the main entrance. I was out of breath from the climb, pausing every 10 steps. Almost dizzy and faint, I finally hit halfway up the mountain. There was a plaza and a cable car here. Didn't see many tourists, but the cable cars and gondolas were running. I hopped on a gondola, wiped my sweat, and took out my phone to check the time. 5:26 p.m., 34 minutes until the tsunami hits. The sun was still blazing and there was no wind on the mountain, showing no signs of an incoming tsunami. But my heart was racing, haunted by doomsday vibes from my past experience. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the mountain wind as the gondola moved, catching a whiff of something weird in the air. The tsunami might already be brewing in the deep sea, just not here yet. When the gondola finished its loop around the scenic area, I finally reached the mountaintop at 5:47 p.m. What greeted me was an ancient-looking Taoist temple. The sun was beating down, heating the air, so there wasn't anyone around. I didn't bother looking for others and headed straight into a side hall. Inside, people could worship. There was a statue of Master Bob, the Taoist saint. During my part-time job here, I used to clean dust off his statue. I paid my respects and sat down, immediately feeling dizzy and weak, too tired and too sunburned. Luckily, everything went as planned, and I was sitting safely in this 200-meter-high temple. Totally safe. It's now 5:52 p.m., 8 minutes until the tsunami arrives. I opened a bottle of mineral water to drink, and Sarah called again. When I answered, Sarah started yelling, "Did you break your leg or something? Why aren't you back yet? I want to wear my bikini and hat to take pics by the sea, and you're killing me. Even Mom and Dad are rushing you. The sunset's coming soon. Hurry back. We need to take pictures of your sister." A sneer spread across my lips. Sunset. Pictures. Haha. You guys will be dead soon. Now, I had no more reservations, responding with a hint of satisfaction. I'm not coming back to the beach. I'm at home enjoying the AC. What? Sarah was stunned, then started cursing. Emily, are you messing with me? If you're not back, where are my bikini and hat? Who's gonna bring them for me? Are you disabled or something? You're 18, and you're like a kid who's not fully developed. I mean, in the brain. Sarah was clearly taken aback. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then I heard Sarah yelling, Emily, what did you say? You called me disabled? You called me brainless. Her shouting left Mom and Dad on the side, all shocked. My dad grabbed the phone, his voice harsh. Emily, did you insult your sister? Are you crazy? My mom's voice squeezed in too. Emily, what did you say about your sister? Say it again. Sister is disabled, brainless, disabled, brainless, disabled, brainless, disabled, brainless. I repeated it many times. You, Emily. My mom was at a loss. The darling she had cherished for 18 years had never been scolded by someone, let alone by the most underappreciated in the family. My dad yelled, Emily, just you wait. I'll get home and chop you up and feed you to the dogs. Click. I hung up, unwilling to listen, just waiting for the final 3 minutes. It's 5:57 p.m. now. In those final 3 minutes, since I wouldn't answer calls, my family took the fight to the chat group to berate me. A ton of text and voice messages flooded in, but I kept ignoring them, just watching the clock. 1 minute left. By now, Sarah had completely broken down. She stopped cursing and started sending loads of pics in the group, pictures of the sea, the beach, selfies. Emily, you're so pitiful. Why do I get to play by the ocean while you have to head home? Emily, you were really brave today, I must admit. Too bad the whole family hates you and wants to beat you to death. I've never been hit since I was a kid, though. Emily, come out here. Get to the resort right now. I want to rip that stinky mouth of yours apart. I want it to laugh. Too funny. The doomsday tsunami was about a minute away, and here I was, chillin' with a load of supplies in the safest place, while Sarah was losing it by the beach, raging like crazy. I actually pitied her, so I consoled her. Sarah, after all this yelling, aren't you thirsty? If so, drink up some seawater. After all, the seawater is gonna recede soon. Drink it while you can. The next second, 6 p.m. on the dot, the sunset dimmed. That group chat went dead silent. Sarah stopped ranting. A weird tension hit me. Is the seawater receding weirdly? Is that why my family stopped ranting? Then Dad sent me a message. Emily, did you go to Fisher Girl Peak? I was wondering why you're taking so long to come back. Are you nuts? Climbing a mountain in this heat? I frowned. How did he know? Then Dad sent a video call. I thought about it and decided to answer. Partly out of curiosity, and partly wanting to see the tsunami firsthand. When the video connected, Dad, Mom, and my sister appeared on screen. They were sitting under a sun umbrella, still enjoying the gentle sea breeze. The tsunami hadn't hit yet. My heart sank. Did reliving my life change the timeline? Emily, why did you run off to Fisherwoman Peak? If I hadn't secretly tracked your phone, I'd never have caught you. My mom started yelling as soon as she opened her mouth. I realized then that she could track my phone. Emily, so you went hiking, huh? You must be crazy to climb a mountain in this heat. Ha ha ha. Sarah wasn't angry anymore. She kept teasing. I get it. We scolded you so you had to go somewhere else to play. Of all places, you chose the hottest one, Fisherwoman Peak. I didn't respond. I was watching the not-so-distant sea through the screen. The sea was still calm, blue, sparkling. Could there really be no tsunami? Why are you silent again? Think you can hide on a mountain, and I'll let you go. I'll break your legs when I get home. My dad was furious, rage all over his face. I had no doubt he might actually kill me. Still silent, I kept my eyes on the sea, heart pounding faster. Finally, at 6:04, the water started acting weird, then suddenly receded. I felt relief wash over me and couldn't help but smile. The timeline hadn't changed. I just couldn't pinpoint the exact time. Oh, dear sister, you can still smile, huh? Dad's gonna kill you, Sarah sneered, only to be cut off. The beach went crazy. People were yelling in shock. What's happening? Where's the water? My dad turned around, brows knitted. Yeah, where's the water? I'll go check. He handed the phone to Mom. She took it, staring bewildered at the sea. No one cared about me anymore, and the video was still rolling. Suddenly, Sarah yelled, "I saw this in a textbook. Is it a tsunami?" Sarah figured it out but had never seen one in real life. So she just stood there, dumbfounded, taking pics. Ahead, some lifeguards were yelling and waving, back up, run!" That command snapped many people out of it, and some started running back. People tend to follow when others start fleeing. The beach turned chaotic. My dad rushed back and grabbed Sarah. "Run? People are saying it's a tsunami." My mom looked terrified, grabbing the phone as she ran. I could see chaotic, shaky images, mostly of the scrambling crowd. I sighed. These people wouldn't escape it. Unless by some miracle they could outrun a tsunami in a car. If that didn't happen, there was little hope. With so many people and cars, everything was jammed up. Who could outrun a tsunami even when it wasn't crowded? Hardly anyone. While thinking about it, my parents and sister reached the parking lot. At the same time, I heard a massive, awesome sound. It was the roar of the ocean. "Oh my God, the sea, look!" My mom, shaking, pointed. Even my dad's voice trembled. "It's huge! Get in the car now! Dad, let me in first!" Sarah was crying, scrambling into the car. The three of them rushed like eels into the car. The phone got jostled, and I finally saw the tsunami. 100-foot-tall wave was barreling in from the horizon, like an endless dragon. The water was no longer blue, but black and gray, like hellish, endlessly flowing blood. Screams and cries echoed within the storm the tsunami brought, and masses of people fell, trampled as chaos unfolded. The car started, and my dad gripped the wheel, flooring the gas pedal. The car shot off but was quickly blocked. The parking lot was a mess, with hundreds of cars trying to flee, leaving no room to maneuver. "Hit them, Dad! Push the car in front!" Sarah screamed, shaking. My dad said nothing, just slammed the accelerator. I heard a loud crash. A gridlocked car seemed to get pushed open. Someone shouted, "Are you insane? Crashing us! My wife is pregnant." "Ah, my wife, get lost," Sarah yelled. My dad kept ramming the car forward. Luckily, his car was parked near the exit. Despite hitting some cars and people, they miraculously got onto the road. "We made it! Speed up! Hold on!" My dad yelled furiously, flooring the gas, not caring if he hit anyone. Sarah turned to look at the sea and screamed, "Hurry! It's hitting the shore!" The tsunami moved so fast. What could be scarier than a 100-foot wave crashing onto land? "We're going fast. Don't worry. Dad is here," my dad reassured. But then he suddenly screamed like he saw a ghost. "No air! What's happening? All the tires are flat." I laughed. Dad had rushed so much he didn't notice the warning lights on the dashboard. Until they hit the road, he hadn't realized something was wrong. "How are all 4 tires flat?" My mom stuttered. "Honey, stop joking. Go, you're slowing down." "How can I go? There's no air left." My dad tried pressing the gas, but the car kept slowing down. Obstacles from luggage abandoned by tourists and leaves blown by strong winds blocked the way more and more. With air in the tires, they might have rolled over them, but flat tires meant they'd get stuck easily. Sarah cried, grabbing the steering wheel. "Go faster. Don't you know how to drive?" She was desperate. Her grabbing and twisting made the car veer into a coconut tree, slamming the 3 of them into the front, almost making them puke last night's dinner. "Sarah, are you crazy?" my dad yelled, trying to reverse, but the car just whined. Without hesitation, he jumped out yelling, "Everyone out of the car! Move, move! I don't want to—" "I'm scared," Sarah sobbed. My mom forced her out, asking my dad what to do next. "Stop the car!" my dad shouted, waving down a ride. "Help us, please!" The road was chaotic, with cars zooming by, no one stopping. I watched with interest, thinking, wasn't this more thrilling than a Hollywood movie? Sitting cross-legged, I drank some water, munching on spicy fish. The shaky screen finally caught a car coming towards them. My dad was overjoyed. "Hey, stop for us!" My mom rushed to flag them down, begging for them to stop. But that car didn't stop. It sped up, and the driver leaned out and yelled, "You bastard, you're the one who caused my wife to have a miscarriage." Turns out, he was the guy whose car got hit in the parking lot earlier. My dad's face changed dramatically, and he quickly got out of the way. My mom wasn't so lucky, didn't dodge in time, and got her right leg broken by the hit, falling down and screaming in pain. The phone finally hit the ground too, with the camera pointing up to the sky. I heard my mom's cries. "It hurts so much." "Honey, save me, hurry!" My dad ran over, his lips trembling. Is your leg broken? Sarah, help your mom. Sarah immediately objected. No, Dad, let's run. The tsunami is coming. Forget about Mom. Sarah objected. No, Dad, let's run. The tsunami is coming. Forget about Mom. Sarah, what did you say? My mom was so shocked she forgot the pain. Sarah was ruthless. Your leg's broken. How are we supposed to save you? Why didn't you dodge? My mom probably never dreamed her favorite daughter would say this. Time was ticking, and my dad quickly made a decision. He picked up Sarah without looking back and sprinted towards a nearby building. By then, the sound of the tsunami was getting scarier, like a world-ending beast closing in on us. I was so scared, I couldn't even enjoy my spicy fish. But then I thought, I'm up in the mountains. What's there to be afraid of? So I went back to eating, savoring every bite. The next moment, the camera turned, showing my mom's pale face. At the last moment, she could still remember her phone, one hand bracing on the ground. She crawled with all her might, clutching the phone in the other, crying, Emily, you're still there. Save me, save Mom. I kept chewing my spicy fish, looking perplexed. Do you think I'm a god, Emily? I was wrong. You hid in the mountains before. You must have known the tsunami was coming. You must know how to save me. My mom was sharp, figuring out my plan. Sadly, in this life and death moment, her mind was too clouded by fear. I'm not a god, I can't help. So I shook my head. Can't save you. My mom wept and wailed, Emily, I was wrong. I was wrong. Sarah is a real jerk. I should never have loved her. Emily, save me from now on. I'll only love you. She stretched her neck like a corpse crawling out of water. I watched silently. 3 seconds later, the tsunami hit like a giant hand slapping down. Everything in the camera was destroyed, leaving only a murky mess, then darkness. The video cut off. My heart tightened for a moment. Then I breathed a sigh of relief. Mom, in your next life, be a better mom, okay? After my mom was swallowed, I didn't lose info about the tsunami. My dad and sister started bombarding me with voice messages. I was surprised. Don't they have better things to do? I opened my dad's voice message to listen. Emily, I hid in the Starlight Hotel, running straight up to the top floor. This hotel is over 100 meters high. I took your sister to the roof. You need to call for help. I called 911. No answer. Remember, it's the Starlight Hotel. I listened, feeling speechless. This is an apocalyptic tsunami. What's calling 911 gonna do? Helicopters don't even dare come near the coast. Clearly, my dad had lost his mind too, consumed by fear. He could only think of me hoping I'd lend a hand. As I expected, he kept pleading, Emily, you ran to the mountains early. You must have known about the tsunami. What should Dad do? Will the hotel collapse? Seeing I wasn't answering, he continued, Sweet daughter, Dad really loves you. Just doesn't know how to show it. Fatherly love is silent. Don't blame Dad. I felt nauseous listening. Fear really drops IQ to 0. Just like Mom. Both he and Mom thought, because I evacuated early, I must have some way to save them. But I really didn't. Then I listened to Sarah's messages. Her voice was urgent and terrified, but somehow still forced a bit sweet. Sis, I'm with Dad. Can you think of a way to help us? The tsunami is about to hit. I'm so scared. If I remember right, she hadn't called me sis in over 10 years. No, wait. Actually, she did call me sis plenty of times, but always sarcastically. Like, my dear big sis, why'd you get in trouble again? Dear sis, want my phone? Mom got me the newest Apple, sis. I actually really like you, just kidding. Stuff like that too many times, so I replied, Dear sister, your big sis has a plan to save you, but she's not gonna... Sarah fell for it, kept humbly begging to save her. I was completely unved. Just watched her put on a show. Eventually, she snapped, habitually cussing. You bitch, are you messing with me? I'll kill you. Dad was the same, sent dozens of voice messages. I didn't listen to a single one. So he, like Sarah, was both scared and angry, going ballistic. Emily, do you have no conscience? We are your family. You knew the tsunami was coming, yet you escaped alone. Are you even human? Dad tried to play the family card. I dropped a bombshell. I don't have family, 'cause you're all gonna die. Emily, you filthy thing. Dad's message cut off halfway. The rest was just the sound of surging waves and Sarah's screams. Clearly, the tsunami hit the Starlight Hotel. Just as I thought everything had calmed down, Sarah sent one last voice message. "Bitch, I'll haunt you even if I become a ghost." Ah, the building's collapsing. Ah, Emily, may you never find peace. The last sound was a deafening bang, mixed with crashing waves, shattering glass, and the building tilting sounds. And with that, it all ended. I, the one they cursed who wouldn't die well, was still alive, while the loving family was all gone. All gone. The phone was silent now. I walked out of the dojo, stood on the viewing platform, looking toward the sea. It was over 30 kilometers from the ocean, too far to see it. No waves yet. But the air was heavily disturbed. A salty, strange smell had already spread here. Even Fisher Girl Peak was bustling. Finally, I saw some tourists. They were glued to their phones, shocked and anxious. A tsunami happened. They said it was 100 meters high. Will it reach us here? We're not far from the resort. We're done for. Today the resort has the most tourists. Sighed. The tense air flowed through the crowd, leaving everyone on edge. Soon, this anxiety spread, like thunder striking inside everyone's heart. Because on the horizon as far as I could see, there was a black wave. It was a flood. From a tsunami heading towards City A. "Oh my God, run!" people shouted, racing down the mountain in a panic. They were losing it. Luckily, someone kept their cool and yelled, "Don't go down the mountain, stay up here. It's the safest." The chaotic crowd pressed towards the top of the hill. Some called their families to urge them to escape. Others kept calling 911, filling the air with endless dial tones. I stared at the approaching black dragon, feeling both terrified and suffocated. Monks from the temple rushed out and told everyone not to stand at the mountain's peak because the tsunami would surely bring fierce winds. Everyone moved into the temple. I went back to my shelter too. I'd already stashed supplies behind the monk, only taking them out to eat. A little later, a thunderous roar erupted, and it felt like the sky was tearing apart. Intense wind and mist, along with the terrifying waves, crashed into Fisherwoman Peak. It seemed like the whole mountain trembled, and my heart shook too. Fortunately, Fisherwoman Peak wouldn't collapse. The roar of the waves was non-stop, and all of City A was submerged. The sky poured down with rain, and the air was filled with sea silt particles, creating a hazy view everywhere. Night fell, making it even harder to see, but the sound of the waves noticeably faded. Typically, a tsunami doesn't last more than 1 or 2 hours. Even a 100-meter tsunami is hard to sustain for long. Now it was time for the waters to recede. The sea would return to the ocean, but the damage was irreversible. I lay down on my mat and fell into a restless sleep. I kept having nightmares, dreaming the tsunami was swallowing me up again, struggling to breathe and feeling cold. Just at the moment of death, strangers whose faces I couldn't see desperately tried to save me. A man and a woman, risking everything to save me. I cried out in my dream, "Mom and Dad." When I opened my eyes, tears streamed down my face. My faceless mom and dad were gone. I sat there, stunned, unmoving for a long time. This dream must be a reflection of my inner thoughts. I longed for my parents' love. But unfortunately, my parents had no faces, because parents with faces simply didn't love me. They would never enter my dreams. Shaking my head, I got up, my heart as hard as stone. The sky outside had already brightened. Helicopters hovered above, broadcasting encouraging words through loudspeakers. "Dear citizens, the tsunami has passed. Please stay calm. Rescue forces have been deployed. Please follow the rules." Tourists on the mountaintop waved joyfully, crying tears of relief. Many more rushed downhill to reunite with their families. I looked down, only seeing endless yellow water. It was seawater, receding, leaving behind devastation, waterlogged river channels, sinkholes, and bodies. Rescue operations were indeed underway, with helicopters and rescue boats in action. I laughed at myself for being so worried. What a waste of supplies. The sun was out now. I didn't need them anymore. 3 months later, the coastal area mostly returned to normal. I was called to the police station several times, all to identify bodies. But none were my family. My family was probably smashed apart or dragged into the ocean. In any case, I would never see them again. We couldn't even gather their remains. Naturally, I inherited the family's estate, an apartment, 3 shops, a rental building, and savings of $3.8 million. In City A, that was enough for me to get by comfortably. So I sat in silence for a long time, wondering why with so much money my family still treated me the way they did. Even my swimsuit was a knockoff. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind the cheap swimsuit. But why did my sister get name brand swimsuits, each costing over $300? At last, I could only massage my chest and try to let go. Some parents are naturally biased or maybe just heartless. And because I have a heart, I often linger between pain and despair, yearning for my heart to be filled with a little love. So naive. Emily, from now on, love yourself well.